Star Trek is a series about a group of explorers expanding their knowledge of the universe and learning about human nature through interacting with humanoid aliens. Throughout the original run, there's a consistent theme, or main idea, that focuses on a basic truth about humanity, the answer to the question, what does it mean to be human? Star Trek's answer to that is, to be human is to feel. On a basic level, while our complex intelligence is important and is what separates us from other animals, our emotions are ultimately what we use to experience the world. This comes out in every element of the series.
Feeling is not much to go on.
Sometimes a feeling, Mr. Spock, is all we humans have to go on.
Captain Kirk, the main character, is the leader of the ship. He's someone unashamed of who he is and wears his compassion on his sleeve in his personal and professional life. He has to make the biggest decisions in order to complete a given mission. He's helped by logic, represented by Spock, who presents him data and information. While it helps him tremendously in understanding a situation, he ultimately makes decisions based on intuition, that subconscious gut feeling that can't be explained, that gut feeling that often considers the impossible. When you're given all the facts of a situation, ultimately you're told to do what you feel is best. Kirk's biggest strength is his compassion, which assures he will think of how his decisions affect others and how to get the best outcome for the most people. Because he makes decisions around compassion, he most directly upholds the Federation's, and by extensions the show's, values of peace, freedom, and hope for a better future.
I gambled on his humanity.
Bridge. His logical selection was compassion.
Compassion. That's the one thing no machine ever had. Maybe it's the one thing that keeps men ahead of them. Care to debate that, Spock?
No, Doctor.
Spock's entire character arc revolves around him learning to embrace his whole identity, particularly his emotional human side. Spock is of half Vulcan and half human descent. He chooses to embrace Vulcan values, which include logical thinking and complete control over his emotions. This is helpful in allowing him to think more clearly and solve many problems, but due to the conflict of his Vulcan and human sides and prejudices he faced from both groups, he's deeply embarrassed by his human side. Even though his control is admirable and his logic often significantly contributes to saving the day, he's repressed and incomplete, choosing only his Vulcan side. He completes his arc when he's able to embrace his human side too, and allow himself to feel. Spock's whole character arc shows us the importance of feeling in a balanced way. Having control over our emotions is very important, but going to extremes and distancing ourselves completely from them prevents us from processing our experiences and fully experiencing life as a result. And it takes him a very long time to find that balance, but that makes it all the more satisfying when he finally achieves it. Several antagonists are people who essentially want the human experience, but try to hold the Enterprise hostage or exert power over them in order to get what they want. Trelane is an all-powerful entity who is fascinated with humanity, but only has a superficial understanding on how it works, and kidnaps Enterprise crew to gain the experience. Sylvia from Cat's Paw wants to experience sensations, and wants to use Kirk as a means to an end to achieve it, literally turning back into an animal when she fails. Charlie X wants people to like him, but tries to force that connection and lashes out in an inability to handle the slightest hint of rejection. And Dr. Lester from Turnabout Intruder said that the year she was together with Kirk is the only time in her life she was alive.
The year we were together at Starfleet is the only time in my life I was alive.
I never stopped you from going on with your space work.
She was most likely drawn to him due to his compassion, but was a deeply troubled person who ultimately steals Kirk's body to feel some kind of control in her life, even though she failed to ever realize that she already had it. And that's just to name a few. And the show goes out of its way to show the importance of negative emotions to the entirety of the human experience. This Side of Paradise is a great episode, simultaneously showing the dangers of eternal happiness, making one complacent to possible threats, and the power of controlled anger in motivating one to make changes. The Enemy Within is an episode that shows how everyone has positive and negative traits that work together to make a whole person, and that we need both of those sides coming together as one to function at full capacity. Even something as painful as humiliation, or stripping someone of their power and dignity, has its place. In its milder form of humility, losing a degree of power keeps our egos in check and reminds us not to play God, as seen in Plato's Stepchildren. In addition, that episode is brilliant in spending just as much time taking the characters out of that painful situation as it does putting them in it, ultimately showing that anything, even our most painful experiences, can be overcome. We talk extensively on the intellectual brilliance of Star Trek, but it has just as much emotional brilliance front and center that should not be overlooked. It affected pop culture so deeply because of its simple yet thorough understanding of humanity. It shows us that the full extent of the human experience is complex, multifaceted, and not just a black and white thing. It helps us not only to understand but also to explain the human experience in simple but meaningful ways that's surprisingly easy to understand. The fact that the show has so many spin-offs that continue to build on this world shows us that we are always learning. Each iteration of the series shows us that even as times change, styles change, and values change, we're always learning, asking, and thinking about the answer to that question: what does it mean to be human?